Hey everybody, it's Anne from Plain&SimpleCrafts. Today is January 2nd, 2020. I am coming on today to list my expectations for 2020. I'm not good at keeping goals. I have never been good at keeping goals. I have made a goal list in the past and then I've always disappointed myself. But that's going to change this year. The first goal I have is to learn a new craft. So I'm going to dabble into sewing. Right now, we're not friends, as you can see. I've jammed the sewing machine several times. For all your sewers out there, has this ever happened to you? And I don't know. So my sister sews and she makes the most amazing quilts. They're beautiful. She made me one when I graduated high school. I still have it. I love it. It's so beautiful. She has quilts hanging all over her house. And I would love to learn how to do that. So I went out a couple months ago and I bought a sewing machine. And I watched a couple tutorials on YouTube. So the first thing I learned how to do was how to spin a bobbin. So this goes on the opposite side of the machine to spin it, and then you put it in. But this part right here that you put it in, so I do that and then wind it around. You click it in, but then it doesn't lock in. Is that supposed to lock in? The tutorial had the same machine as me, and there's a little lever here, where right in that part, right there. And that actually locked the bobbin in. Mine doesn't have that. So if anybody could answer that question, please let me know in the comments below or send me an email. I would appreciate your help. So my sewing goal is to learn how to first sew a straight line, and then to complete at least one sewing project if I ever learned how to sew a straight line. Because they were my tests, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm thinking about signing up for a class at Joann's. My second goal for crafting is to use up at least half my stash this year, and Sheri from the String Stretching Studio came up with a 2020 challenge. So basically it's a list of 20 things and then you do it 20 times. So if you're interested, I will leave her channel page linked below, and you could hop over there and ask her to send a copy of it or email her and ask questions about it. It's really awesome because I think that will help me keep on track with goals for crafting. And then so it's unrealistic for me not to go on a yarn ban, because every time I do, I wind up buying a whole lot of yarn. Like, more than what I can store. So I figured I have a little plastic bag. This was part of I was going to use this for something else, but I think this is... So for every 20 skeins or cakes of yarn I use, I'm going to purchase a yarn that I want to try. For example, I want to try and bloom yarn, but I'm holding off buying it because I have so much here to use up that it wouldn't be worth buying right now. And then not to go over, so I don't want to use up 20 and then buy 20 more to replace that. So it has to be 20 or less, or 19 or less. So smaller yarn hauls. So my plan is to buy between 5 and 10 because in my head I need at least, I mean, I could, if it's enough yardage, I could do one project with one ball, but the smaller skeins usually need 2 or 3. So that's my plan right now. Maybe it should be 10 or less, because that way I will use more than what I'm bringing in. So for every 20 yarn labels that go into this bag, I will reward myself by buying a yarn that I really want to try. With the exception of these, so these little bonbons are only 10 grams, so for every 5, that will be considered one skein of yarn. So that's my plan for that. The next thing on my list is to learn how to write patterns. Right now I'm writing up one for this headband. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I'm writing up one for this headband. So I worked it up I did show a couple of variegated yarns, and I made this pattern. It was just me playing around with stitches, and then somebody asked me for a pattern, and I didn't have one to give, so I'm writing up a pattern. I asked a couple people to test it for me, and if you would like to test it, shoot me an email, and I will be happy to send you the pattern. This is what it looks like in a solid color. This is Red Heart with Love. I had one ball of Red Heart with Love. I was going to use Studio Classic by Nicole, but their AC Moore's going out of business. So I want to use yarns that are available on the current market. I know that in the future they might not be available, but for now, that is what, since I had one ball, and this is the closest thing to the Studio Classic. It's very, very similar. This actually might be a little softer, but Studio Classic, I love that yarn. I don't know what I'm gonna do for my go-to yarn now, because AC Moore, there was like hardly anything left last time I went to AC Moore. So that is that. And then also I'm going to be working up a pattern for these mittens. I made these last year just to see if I could make mittens, and I didn't like the increases in them. I didn't like any of the patterns really that I tried, so I just came up with my own thing. And then my dad asked me to make another pair for a gift for somebody at church, so I did that. And I posted a picture on Facebook. Somebody asked me for a pattern. Again, I did not have one. So now I'm going to be I wrote up a pattern for the scarf. Now I am working on the mittens. I'm going to probably need a couple weeks because these mittens are much harder to write up than the scarf and the ear warmer set. But if you're interested, again, shoot me an email. I already have one person volunteer to do the mitten pattern. And for the headband, it's really, the headband, it doesn't really, you don't need a whole lot of yarn. You could even use, this is just some gray and red heart super saver. This will, I'm thinking, make the headband. So you could use a partial skein, like little balls that you don't know what to do with. Not like super, super tiny, but enough to make a headband. Which leads me to, I do have some personal goals. So pattern writing, I want to make more cards this year, send out more Happy Mail to people. I want to go on more adventures and also finish what I start. So I did start a journal. I made a hat last night because the Eagles won and now they're in the playoffs, which is amazing. So I got inspired and I made a hat, which I don't know where that hat, it was right here. Not sure. Oh, here it is. Just on the other side. So this is actually just some scrap yarn that I used. So the teal and the gray are Red Heart Super Saver, and then the white is Endless Impeccable. And then I'm not really good at making pom-poms. Does anybody know a good pom-pom maker? Because the ones I have aren't really... This is probably the best pom-pom I ever made. It's a little floppy. So I might go back and sew it in more. And then the method that I use to... Again, I just bring down the yarn through the hat. When I change colors, I prefer that method over cutting and tying in all those ends. And then my goal, actually I do use a lot of scrap yarn because I don't know what to do with it, so I always make hats with partial skeins or those little balls of yarn that might pop up. So right now, like these little balls, I might use like stripes and hats, and even smaller ones, I'll use it for the top of the hat. And then one of my last goals is to keep a journal of what I make. I've never done that before because I didn't think I would ever be into the world of yarn. So I went to the dollar store. I'll show it next time I make a video. I have a little journal and it has like, it's really cute. It has a little llama on it. And I wrote down the yarn I used for a hat. I used an H hook to make the hat. And then it's just double crochets, simple increase in the top, and then double crochets all the way around, and then front and back post for the brim of the hat. But then I actually jumped down to a G hook because I find that if I use an H hook with this type of brim, that the hat is sometimes a little too wide on the sides. So I usually jump down a hook so it's a little tighter. And then this pom-pom is probably going to fall apart. So if you guys know a good pom-pom maker, let me know in the comments below. So the one I have is not very good. And those are my goals for 2020. I do have to start the mittens. I have not started that yet because after I finish this, I will start the mittens. So if you're interested, please let me know. I'll leave my email link in the description box below. And that's it. That's all I have. Oh, I have one other work in progress so this is a knit project that I started probably, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. So I'm almost finished my first ball. This is my knitted project made out of Stitch Studio by Nicole in, I think it's called Cotton Candy, but it's a bamboo yarn, so I think it's 40% bamboo and 60% acrylic. But it's beautiful. I love it. My yarn's all twisted. It's supposed to make a fair aisle. So it's supposed to be, I guess if you use the right gauge and the right amount of stitches, it makes a fair aisle effect. You can probably see it in the pink. Maybe not, because the color's being blown out. Alright, I hope everybody had a great New Year's. I hope you were safe on New Year's. My neighborhood had a lot of fireworks going off. And have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.